Hey there, and welcome back to another one of the Arknights SSS guides. Today we're going to be looking at Under Construction Dossoles Plate, and this is going to be put on Emergency Mode, which means that you do have to clear Standard Supply Mode first, but given that Emergency Mode is just a straight, more higher difficulty, anything that you learn here should be applicable to Standard Supply Mode, besides the emergency-only effects, which you wouldn't have to worry about. So to start off, SSS got some updates today, and that includes giving us a little equipment to begin the run with, so you cannot skip this. I've been using the Adaptive Supply component, and I'll talk a bit more about that choice after, or right now. And for emergency, you do get 3 flashbangs, and this acts like one of the tower bosses where it enters your draw pile, and when you draw it, all of your high ground units get stunned. And it stays in your discard pile after. You don't get rid of it in that map. You permanently keep these flashbangs. So they're a way to punish cycling a little bit, and make it so that you have to have at least some block down to help with your runs. And then here it is. We're going to be selecting the Adaptive Supply component, and this gives us 15 SP on drop. So as you deploy an operator, gains 15 SP. This is permanent. And when you place it, you get transfer permits based on how many operators are in your squad. We're going to be using the exact same setup as previously, except now we get to select 20 operators instead of 14. So what we're basically doing here is that we're adding in the operators that we would normally be looking to add, at least those classes. So we added the Ash, so we have 3 snipers now instead of 2. We added the Chaobi, so we have an extra caster. We added and then we added the Gladia and the Saria. Gladia is helpful for cycling a very specific unit. So let's say you have Aya down at 4 buffs. You can cycle the Aya back out and have it at 5 buffs after. And then everything else should be self-explanatory. Nothing is too different from what we've already been doing. And so let's go ahead and start. One note is that the supporters that do get used for their actual effects, Sculptor's going to get used, Suzerain's going to get used, Neosis a little bit, Angelina is not terribly important, and Shamar will be used as well to help out a little bit. But otherwise, it's not too important. We're going to be using Golden Glow S2 for the entire run, and Saria S2 or S1. It will depend on the map. We'll probably be using S2 for maps 1 through 5, and then switch to S1 for the final map, and you'll see why at that point. Oh, and we're adding another Vanguard, so in this case Texas, to help out a little bit with the DP. Now, the equipment that we do get, since it does give us transfer permits, it can be worthwhile to switch to Supporter B. It's going to be more personal preference. At that point, I'm very used to just what I'm doing here because, as I mentioned in my previous videos, I do the exact same thing every single time, every single week. I'm just using the same team, same strategy. So I'm used to this, but if you want to start switching over to Supporter B, it'll probably be quite effective with this type of setup. And you might even be able to drop a couple of supporters in favor of buff units and just use the supporters as is, because this Adaptive Supply component gives you quite a bit of transfer permits. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that in a bit. We're actually not going to be using Aya here, but I'm just cycling that now so I get free space in my team. And just like I mentioned, I totally forgot about this, so you're just going to stick this in the corner somewhere, and it has a 60 SP gauge. When it fills up, you get as many transfer permits as your entire squad, the number of your entire squad. There's the flashbang. There's another flashbang. I love these things. They are a wonderful mechanic. You're going to love wasting 3 assigns and then having all 3 hit you in a row. It's a wonderful feeling, especially when you really need those pulls. There's our little rust bucket activating. And there we go, we finished the run. So the reason why I'm actually using Saria is because there's going to be jetpacks that land here later, the sniper jetpacks. And while the Sculptor should be sufficient, you can also place the Saria where the Saga is. And it'll be enough to heal in this position, but honestly, it doesn't matter too much. Because it's map 1, and we're just going to let Golden Glow give us a free clear. One thing to remember about... Emergency is that if the enemy is not being blocked, you lose damage against that enemy. So it's quite important to remember your blocks and when you're going to be looking to deal damage. So here we go. These are the jetpackers that can be a little bit sketchy when dealing with Golden Glow. There's another jetpacker. So, in particular, for maps 1 through 5, there's going to be more range damage than you're probably used to. Outside of Viviana from, I think it's Glebe. Was it Glebe or the other one? It doesn't really matter. Oh, it was the other one. Glebe is the slug. So this map is one that we... one thing that I forgot to mention. You can actually select to just fully skip an operator on occasion. It doesn't always appear. In this case, I'm looking towards either Sora or Matterhorn. Lava and Sisa are quite expensive. While it would be nice to pick up more of their roles, so more of that caster buff or sniper buff, they're quite expensive DP-wise, so we don't necessarily want to use them. Because of this equipment, it's not terribly necessary to get more supporters throughout the run. It is nice. 8 to 9 throughout the run is quite sufficient. It is nice to get another defender. So I'll go ahead and take the Matterhorn because we do want defender buffs later in the run. And here another Vanguard is nice. Another low ground Vanguard is going to be quite nice. So I'm going to take the Scavenger. So this map, you will be able to place operators anywhere. So don't forget to put your little rust bucket down because I always forget. So this is going to look quite similar to what you've already seen in other maps. We did get the Sculptor, so the Sculptor is going to be placed in the middle. And then what I'm doing is I'm waiting for my Saria so I can replace the Matterhorn and ensure that my Sculptor survives this. I can also just use the Suzerain. So Sculptor is a little bit short, as you can tell. We got the Saria anyway. And this is going to be the 5th buff. In general, we don't have to do anything else for the rest of the run at this point. I will be setting up the Aya anyway. And at this point, we're sufficiently done, and you're just AFK. And so you just wait for the audio cue telling you that the mission is over. So I forgot one thing I didn't mention at the beginning. Emergency gives you twice as many data supplement sticks and data supplement instruments, so the tier 2 and tier 3 materials. So if you only do the normal standard mode, it takes you 3 clears to complete a month. Otherwise, if you do 1 normal and 1 emergency, you're going to be doing 2 full clears. And otherwise, if you do, I think you can do 1.5 emergencies, something like that, like floor 4, floor 5. And you'll be able to complete your month that way as well. So this map is quite straightforward, similar to the previous towers where they were 8 floors. At the halfway mark, you got the chance to get gadgets. Here we're at the halfway mark, so we're going to be having the chance to get gadgets here. This is quite unfortunate. It would be nice to pick up another caster and sniper, but I don't see them, so I'm going to take the scene so we can cycle a little bit more. And we're again in the same boat where we can't take them. Vigna's not bad, so I'll take the Vigna. Again, we're looking for lower cost casters and snipers, or even Beanstalk. Beanstalk is great as a caster replacement for just a buff. For this map, things are a little bit different. What happens is the big enemies spawn from each of the red boxes and go straight into the staircases, while the small enemies do a loop around the map and enter the staircase at the end. There's our flashbang again. Another flashbang. And it's quite early in the run, but we're most likely just going to be switching into a defender already. I'm hoping to get an... And here we go. This is the first time I'm seeing the slug. So just like the previous sets, what we're looking for is equipment activation valve. Secondary would be reassignment transmitter, so you can remove operators from the list once you finish using their buffs, whatever it may be. Third or tertiary would be the preparation area transmitter or the recuperation area transmitters. And then at that point, you'll never have a chance to take the recall box. I don't like the recall box. So if you're following this guide, I recommend not taking the recall box. I'm gonna go ahead and save my Aya. And that way, as soon as I get one more... That way, as soon as I get one more caster or something of that sort, I'm able to put the Aya down and have that full buff. Alternatively, I can just decide to, if I don't get it here, which I did get it. And at this point, we've more or less finished the run. You only get two of these, you only get two of the equipments or gadgets starting from, well, instead of it being at 8 floors with... Instead of being 8 floors with 3 gadgets, you have 6 floors with 2 gadgets. There's the equipment activation valve. So given that this is guide, I'm not going to take it. And there's always the chance that you don't get one in your run. And again, our secondary choice would be the reassignment transmitter. So I'm going to be skipping these, but I would be, for my own farming purposes, I would be taking the equipment activation valves. Given that this is an emergency stage, it is very helpful to get those. So I'm not sure if I mentioned prior, but the emergency is that if enemies are not being blocked, you deal less damage to them. Also, I don't remember getting the Black Knight, but that's not a big deal. That would look very funky here. When I did my previous Flawless, I don't remember getting the black one and having triple debuffs. I wonder if it's RNG. Either way, we can clear it without too much difficulty, and we continue through. So the suzerain at the top is going to be very helpful if you get the fleet-footed thief for the gadgets. She's going to be extremely helpful for being able to kill that because it's emergency, and the emergency is that you deal more damage to enemies when they're blocked, and you deal less when they're not blocked. It's a big difference. Fleet-footed thief is a wraith, and you can't block him, so you do very little damage to him, and it is a bit of a pain in the ass. So at the beginning of the run, we selected an equipment. And this equipment at floor 4, you get to choose one or the other, so you get a branch. Branch A is all caster and sniper operators gain 100% attack for 15 seconds after deployment. This is really nice for our squad, because most of the snipers and casters that we get, we're able to drop them in and cast their ability right away. And we're also really focusing on high ground DPS. So it's nice for just panic shenanigans. This one, we do use defenders, not many specialists, but defenders not having cost is kind of nice. We do have 4 defenders in the team, and that helps out with the DP cost as well, but we generally don't need to worry too much about that. So we're going to take the first one, and you don't get to select operators for floor 4. So instead of operators, you get a branch. Don't forget to put your stupid toy. This set was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. We've already lost our Vanguard. That's fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the Aya out. I should have cycled in Vigna here. And you see how much extra damage we're dealing when they're blocked now with Nian? It's a very big difference. So let's start cycling these out. Oh, that's already complete. Okay, I see. I'm gonna go ahead and put the scissoring down. Oh, we finally got our Aya. And we're looking for our Justice Knight so that we can put our our Golden Glow down, which is obviously not going to show up now. This is where Supporter B can definitely be very, very, very helpful. And at this point, we're basically done the run. So if you remember, these volleyball launchers do a lot of damage. As my Golden Glow is finding out, that is extremely unfortunate. Not that it matters too much, we're already at the end of the run. It is helpful to have your defender last so that the volleyball launchers target that. Like, didn't particularly matter. It doesn't really matter. We're dual DPS at this point, so whatever. At this point, I'm quite desperate to add in for snipers and casters that I will take the Ambriel, the Scambriel. And I can take the opportunity to completely skip this choice or take the Quercus for improved to just add to my cycling. We did not get any of the Vanguards we're looking for. So these are the dodge guys, and it is a pain in the ass. And I do not have the operators I want right now. The bottom lane is going to be quite a bit more difficult than the top lane. Throughout the run anyway, that's the way it's going to be. What am I doing? This, I guess, can send it cycled out. Why did I hear the Justice Knight sound? We're gonna go ahead and put the Sari on top. Sari is still on S2. Should be on S2, she is. So she'll have great coverage for this. And go ahead and put the Nian at the bottom. Alright. So you do have the giant cannons that do a lot of damage, if you remember those from this event. Otherwise, these guys hurt too, but that's part of the reason why we have Saria down and Sculptor. So they do hurt. And then soon we're going to have those Mega Cannons spawning. You're going to remember them. When they take damage, they zoom. And you're going to have a few of these in the run too, so just careful. Press Nian if you need to. Press Suzerain if you need to. And in general, just keep pressing Aya, and you'll be fine. The final enemy is, I think, the giant red cannon, the elite version of what we just saw. There it is. I think you get 2 of them even. As I mentioned, the bottom side takes more of the brunt of the damage. Nian is literally invincible, so generally you don't have to worry too much about that. Obviously, you don't need to use Nian if you have Hoshiguma, Quora, anything of these. Also, one thing to be careful of is if you do take a robot to stack a buff, don't specialist the robot. Okay. I mentioned that we are a bit desperate on casters, so I'm going to be taking the Skyfire despite her being incredibly expensive. And we're going to also take the Nightmare here. So we're going to switch the Saria to S1. This is going to be because Saria is going to have to self-tank for a little bit. And we're also going to be tactically leaking on this map, the first red weave. We should not need to leak anything else if all goes to plan. So I'll pause at the beginning of the map and just describe where... Well, pause, I mean, I just won't start the map. And I'll just mention where all the operators are planning to go. And hopefully we'll be able to clear. We're not actually going to be aiming to Aya DPS this map. We're going to be aiming to... we're going to switch a little bit between Aya and Ashe throughout the map. Suzerain's going to get used as a core part of the run. Sculptor is going to be there, but I'm still on the fence about leaving her down for the entire map. And Shamara is going to also see some usage here. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so the core of this map is that all the difficult enemies are going to be passing through the middle tile here, or most of the difficult enemies, and going out this staircase and directly into the blue box at the top. So, given that you have very few tiles that you can use to block a lot of these enemies, so the boss is going to spawn here, undeployable, undeployable, staircase, staircase, undeployable, and then you have 2 deployable tiles, one of them being a fire tile. Makes it a little bit difficult and kind of gives the obvious choice of using the heal block as your primary location. So we're going to be setting up the Golden Glow here facing left so that she can target above into this fire tile. So we're going to be defending using this heal block. You have to kill the boss 3 times. So it's going to take a long time to kill the boss, even with Golden Glow set up and blocking the boss for the extra buff or the extra damage because of the emergency. We're going to be setting up the Suzerain here. And we're going to be setting up the Ashe here. The Ashe or Aya is going to be set up here. And now the Aya, the reason why the Aya is difficult is that there's not that many opportunities to actually target the boss when he's sitting on the fire tile. You'd have to let the boss kill an operator, a melee operator. So let's say you place a Vanguard down. Boss kills the Vanguard, steps into the heal block, and you split box using a defender. The boss does quite a bit of damage, and there's other enemies that are going to be spawning that are going to equally do quite a bit of damage. So it depends on how you want to manage it. I'm going to just be focusing on trying to kill and not lose what's in the middle, but I will end up cycling the units in the middle a little bit because of death. But to start, we're not going to need the defenders; those are going to be for later. And yeah, so let's get going. This now. Don't forget to place your little toy down. And then start cycling. This is really annoying. So as I mentioned, we're going to be tactically leaking the first weave. It is a pain to try and catch him. And we're not doing terribly well here. Oh, I forgot to press this, that's why. That would make a lot of sense. I'm going to use the Nian here. You can kill the weave, but I mean, it's a bit of a pain this early on. So we're gonna have to start setting up operators in the middle. We're gonna go with the Matterhorn into the... Okay, let's generate a little bit of DP, and then we're gonna get the Saria in there. So now we get a little bit of a break while we tank this. And let's cycle for... We're going to be trying to set up Suzerain where the Gnosis is, as I mentioned earlier. Keep in mind, the longer that you stall this boss, the more that your danger level is going to go up. For me, it's regularly hit max by the end of the run, so for me, it doesn't really matter too much. And remember, you have to kill the boss 3 times. So every time you kill the boss, he's going to reset to this tile, heal on this tile, and then go back through the same path. So this is about normal for the first kill. The second kill, we're hoping to do it before the next weeb spawns. So we got this, and now we have our maxed Suzerain stack. And as I mentioned, we're going to be setting up Ashe at the bottom here. I'm going to put the Ashe now because the goal is that we're going to cycle it through. The Shamar is this is a good time to set up the Shamar. And we're going to be using the Shamar to debuff the enemies in this area. We're going to be looking for one more either. That's good. Perfect. So you can see the boss healing here. And we're more or less set up for this run. And just pop Ashe as needed, Suzerain as needed, Nian as needed. And you will probably have to swap out this Scavenger for a Defender. I'm going to see if I can cycle into the Matterhorn. But if it doesn't show up, not the end of the world. And we're going to pop the Suzerain to speed this up a little bit. Pop the Nian as needed. Pop this down as needed. That's done. Alright, great. So this stage, given that I have the Gladia, if you have a situation like this, you're already pretty much fully set up. You can swap out the Ashe with the Gladia, then put the Aya down. It will help significantly for this wave here. It's not terribly important. Scavenger will die if you don't do anything here, so this is a nice opportunity to swap into a Matterhorn and get that help. Nian is most likely going to die. This guy is a pain in the ass. This is pretty much expected. Alright, let's see if Mudrock can survive this. I wish we can discard units at will, but unfortunately that's not the case. So I can go ahead and retreat this, and use this to swap in a few operators. That was what I was unfortunately hoping would not happen. So we do have one life that we can tactically leak. As much as it sucks, we will end up using this. And now we're looking for another defender. This is quite alright, so we're going to cycle some more. There we got one defender. Remember not to accidentally put your Shamar too early. And we're not going to put the defender yet. And the reason's going to be obvious in a second, because now we're going to put... Now that Gnosis is able to hit, we can go ahead, add the Gnosis in, and we're able to stall in this setup. So use this as needed. Use this as needed. Use the Suzerain as needed. And GG. You've just flawless the emergency. We're going to be using the exact same team for all the towers. I assume it's going to work on the other towers anyway. So, yeah, there we go. Flawless under construction Dossoles plate. Using a very standard team, at least standard for me, where I'm going to be just using this to farm every month. And hopefully this helped. There is a medal specifically to emergency, and there is a medal for flawless. So if you do this, you'll get both. And there you go. All done. So hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'm always around on the Discord. If you have time-pressed issues, if you want to talk strategy in the middle of a run, things like that, I'm generally available on my Discord, so don't forget to join that. And as always, have fun, and thank you for watching.